In this teaching segment today, I want to talk about the importance of being very adroit and skillful with your weak hand. We all have one strong arm and one weak arm. One arm we favor, one arm we don't favor as much. You might be right-handed dominant or left-handed dominant. Whatever it is, I want you to become very skilled as a knife fighter in using your non-dominant or your weak hand. Normally, I'm right-handed. In knife fighting, I can use almost each hand equally. Maybe still 20% more skill with my right than my left, but on my left, I've been diligently training it for many, many years to try to make it the equal of the right. Using two knives will help bring you along a lot faster because you'll constantly be using your left. It'll force you to. One of the other ways to do is when you're using two knives is to switch, and I put my weak side slightly forward. To get the best use of two knives, you have a much more squared stance to people, so both knives can work equally. Okay? You might want to blade yourself just a tiny bit. And I blade myself just a tiny bit. One reason is, and for training, is because I want to concentrate on my non-dominant hand. So when I'm using two knives, we'll just do the same thing we do in our warm-up, is I will make this work more than, sometimes I'll put the right in, I'll put in the strong one, but I'm trying to get skill here with the non-dominant hand. You know, sometimes he was faking so much, and my job right now isn't necessarily attacking because we're training, is I'm trying to get, and then I got faked with this hand, and then he finally went, and then I cut him here. You want to get good at using this. You want to be able to pick up thrust with it. Okay? You want to be able to pick up thrust with it. Occasionally, depending on where I'm at, I may have to use my dominant hand, which is further back. But I want to, as much as in me, to force myself to use this, my weak hand. Now, I probably should have come up here when you did the both the feints, pick them up with this hand that was closest. Again, you see, if Ron feints me a lot, and I can't tell what's going on, I'm going to move out. Okay? If you have the room, that's a real good strategy. If you don't have the room, you might have to close or preempt right there. He's feinting me, and I can reach him with my knife. I'll already cut him. I can reach that hand. You can hear that stick along his arm. I'll have already cut him. I don't like people to feint me. If you're in range, I'll cut you and get out. There's a stick underneath his arm. Can you feel it? So let's go slow so the camera can see. Here's how I want you to work. A little less feints and just strokes. Start out and have him just attack. Just regular single attacks. Occasionally, work in your other hand. There, he so totally faked me out that I had to drop here. What? Yeah. Single attacks, that's things. Okay. Now, I knew he'd circled on me, and he was getting ahead of me. I had to run to get distance, because I lost the angle on my peripheral vision. I picked it up in the last second again. Try it again. Try it again. Sometimes it's easier, depending on his angle, to come here than it is to try to get inside of it. Every so often, work in your dominant hand, which is back. It's front hand, rear hand, front hand, front hand, front hand, front hand. Okay? Talk to yourself. You can say front hand, front hand, front hand, backhand. Okay? You can tell yourself when you're going to use what. This is also good practice. See, to reach across this weight, to reach across the side of your body. To cut that, I have to pivot. Turn it to waist, turn it to shoulders, get the angle. If I do this, I don't get the angle to cut him. I have to turn here, all the way through to get the right angle to lay my edge on it. Constantly think, when you're doing these drills, about where your edge is. If you're just bashing them with your blade, you're not cutting them. So you have to think about turning. So these imaginary knuckles, that side of your blade is hitting, because now you're lining the edge. If you're not, you're just smashing your knife into them. And if you've got a whipped knife made by my competitors, it might not go so good for you. But I think I zoned it. You have to be ready to use that high or low. I want to talk about now, as you train yourself to use your non-dominant or your weak arm, you want to do the same things that I always talk about. As you're training, you want to meet the cuts. So just attack from, and I'll just try to meet. You can just say, I'm going to try to meet everything. I'm not going to follow anything. I'm going to meet it. 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 Okay? I'm going to meet it. 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 Okay? Then you go back. This is how you build that skill. You go say, I'm going to try to follow it. Have to meet it there. Have to meet it there. Follow it. Sometimes, because of the angle or the moment in time, you have no choice but to meet it. But what you're trying to do is teach yourself to follow with that hand. Follow it. Follow it. See, that's what you get when you follow it. You know, cuts with the other arm. This is what you get. If you got a dagger, double-edged dagger, he cuts that hand, and I follow it, comes right in there, and as I sling around behind him, I'll do this. And I'll drag him around behind me as I slit his throat. I'll shove that point through his neck. If I can't get it through his neck and I miss, from here, if I miss the stab, I'll come this way, lay my edge on, and then rip it across as I drag him around and just cut his neck, try to cut his head off. So, you want to follow, 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 follow. Sometimes you can't follow. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't. That's what you get. Notice, lots of times, even as I follow, I'll change my level and I'll change my angle. Okay? You're constantly working that. Now, as you do this, he backs. Oh, had to meet it there. Had to meet it there. Follow with that hand. Followed and followed. But sometimes I'll have to meet it because I flipping can't follow it. Just like that. I followed it to the cut, and picked up his cut again. Okay? That's how you drill. You also have to get good at stabbing. Picking up stabs. So he stabs in my abdomen. I try to use my lead hand or my non-dominant hand as much as I can. Sometimes you have to use this one because the angle goes with it. If he reaches here, you need to practice changing directions. Come this side. Here is here. I have to pivot with him. He takes that big deep step in, I have to go on his wrist. Or if he takes that big deep step in, you have to hammer with your butt. Here, or my forearm. If I can't make that step, I still have to come back and hit that. Let's swing this way, you can see. Comes around here. See that on his wrist? Can you feel it bounce off? Feel it bounce off? Powerful, isn't it? Now, if you pick that up, you can stab with this hand or you can come right back up into him. Okay? You get here, you're almost rebounding off, hitting to his rib cage. And when you do that, hit him hard, because he's still there. You haven't damaged. Remember, when you hit someone with a pommel or the little pinky side of your fist, you haven't hurt him badly. He may feel a shock, may make his thumb swell, he hasn't dropped his knife yet. But this is going to hurt him. Or this is going to hurt him. You've got to put the hurt on somebody. If your edge doesn't touch, you bought yourself some time, but you haven't won the fight. Think about all these things as you constantly practice double knife with non-dominant side forward. You'll be glad you did. I am.